Alright guys, so I decided to make this quick video on how to make a reverse canvas. I'm not going to show you everything, but I'm going to show you the gist of it. So I'm going to show you how to get from this, a regular canvas that you buy at the store, to this with the frame and the canvas material, and then eventually once you're all done it will look like this with a nice frame, whatever your design will be. I usually add some paper flowers just to decorate it up, and that's about it. So what you are gonna need, or at least what I use, is needle nose pliers and the flathead tiny screwdriver. So what we're gonna do is on the back of the canvas there are these staples, and what you do is take your flathead and go underneath the staple and pop it up. Try and get them to stand up like that. And then you just work your way around the whole canvas. This is kind of time consuming, especially when you get into the bigger canvases. Like I just did an 18 by 24, 18 by 20, I don't know what it is. And that takes a lot of time, but it's worth it. Ooh, that one popped out. Here's another one. Try to keep track of your staples, because that would be very painful to step on. Especially if you have little kids or animals around. I have a 8-month-old son, and he likes to put everything in his mouth. So I'm gonna pop all these up. Ugh. And then a couple over here. Alright, and then once you have them all up, I then go back with the needle nose pliers and I just pull them out. I usually have a cup that I put them into, but I'm trying to do this real quick while the baby's sleeping and I'm waiting on my husband to get home. So we're going to pull out all these staples. Sometimes your staple might break inside the canvas. Usually I either will try to hammer it down so that you can't feel it poking out, or I would, if it's up far enough, I'll try to grab it with the pliers and pull it out. Alright, the last one. Hold on over there. So, now that that's all done, you are able to remove this. And it's okay that it's damaged, because you're not even going to be working with that. You'll probably end up cutting that piece off later on anyways. So then, now you have your frame. I really have only used the Hobby Lobby brand. I think it just says canvas on it. They're the cheap, you get 10 8x10s for $10. I use those a lot. So I'm not sure about other canvas quality, but I feel like these are pretty good and they're cheap. Usually I will go over this a little bit with just a little sanding block. There's some like rough edges. It's hard to see in my camera, but it's really nothing too bad and really isn't that big of a deal. Since this has a staple here and a staple here and nothing on this side, I actually go ahead and put a staple here and a staple here just so it looks good. And it probably will hold it together better. I don't know why there isn't a staple there. Usually they're one here, but who knows. But, alright, so after that is done, after I give it a little sand, I stain it. I use cheap stain from Walmart. It's like Rust-Oleum something or another. I use that, and it's espresso color. That's my favorite one. I feel like people like it the most. So I give that a stain. I usually just set that aside to dry. And then when you have your canvas and whatever design you decide on, you have to remember that even though this is an 8x10 canvas, you're not going to be able to make your design 8x10. You have to realize that your picture is only going to be in this small of a space, where 8x10 is measuring from side to side. So you're going to have to do it like this way is 8, and this way is only going to be about 6. So make sure you measure that out. And then once you have your design on here and everything, what I usually do to staple it back together is I flatten it out, placing it on top like this, and I will pull it tight each side, flip it over, staple it, do it again, and put a staple one in each side first, and then work my way around and do a couple more staples just to make sure it's nice and tight. Another thing I want to say is that it's really your choice on what you want to use as your material. Some people use Oracal 651 or some permanent vinyl. Some people use HTV. Some people use a stencil and paint. It's really up to you and what your preference is. I personally like to use HTV. It's super easy to deal with, super easy to weed, super easy to place on here. Then I can use my heat press or an iron. No issues. With 651 or a permanent vinyl, most people find that they have to put like a base coat of white paint or Mod Podge to help the vinyl stick better. I've done 651 before, and personally, it was a pain in the butt, so I don't recommend it. If you want to stencil it and paint it, I've also read that using a little bit of Mod Podge helps your paint not bleed through the stencil. I've done 2 different canvases trying to stencil, and this one, if you can see, it bled a lot when I painted it, and that's a pain in the butt and makes it not really look that good. The second one I did, I also painted it with a stencil, but I used Mod Podge on the stencil first, let it dry a little bit, and then painted it, and then took off the stencil right away, and I had very, very minimal paint bleeding. So there's potential that painting using a stencil would work, but preferably, I know it's a little more expensive, but I would use HTV no matter what. If you have any questions, just comment below and I will try to answer them. I am going to be going to bed soon, so if I don't get to you tonight, I will definitely get you tomorrow. Anything else, just let me know. Thanks.